Welcome to the History and Heritage podcast with me, Liam Blake. Join me as we uncover hidden stories and insights that shaped our world. From mysteries to legacies, join us on this journey through time. Of great size and strength, and of a lion-like aspect, these dogs are gentle to their friends but terrible to their foes. So that, dear listener, was a quote from Captain George Augustus Graham, whose name we will come up against again, in 1879, and related to an Irish dog breed. If you didn't know already, I'm doing a series on Irish native breeds, and that dog breed is the Irish Wolfhound. The Irish Wolfhound is a breed that most people in Ireland have heard of, even if they've never actually met one in person. It's a name that carries a certain weight. It sounds ancient, impressive, and, obviously enough, recognisably Irish. But what's often missing from the conversation is the real documented history of the Irish Wolfhound. What kind of animal it actually is, where it came from, how it survived, and what role it has played in Ireland's past and present. This isn't a dog that just happens to be Irish. It has existed in some form for well over 1,000 years, and for most of that time it had a specific role. It was a working dog, a hunting dog, and a status symbol. A practical part of society, especially in a rural country with real threats like wolves and wild boar at the time, and at certain points it came close to disappearing completely. References to Irish hounds go back as far as the 4th century AD. In the year 391, the Roman consul Quintus Aurelius Symmachus wrote to thank a colleague for sending him 7 Irish dogs, which he said caused all Rome to marvel. These dogs were large, strong, and built for hunting. Their size and strength made them valuable. Over the following centuries, large hounds from Ireland continued to be recognised for their power and speed. In early Irish society, the word coo, meaning hound, was so respected that it was sometimes used as an honorary title for warriors. You'll see this in the old Irish legend Cuchulainn, who takes on the name of the hound he kills in a fight. Even in folklore, these dogs were respected for the loyalty and strength that they had. But that respect had a real basis. They were genuinely useful animals. For many centuries, Irish Wolfhounds were bred specifically for hunting large game. Wolves, obviously enough, but also deer and wild boar. They weren't show dogs or house pets. They were working animals, especially important in areas where wolves posed a danger to livestock and sometimes even people. The wolf population in Ireland expanded significantly during the 17th century. This was partially a result of the upheaval and destruction caused by war, especially during the Cromwellian period. With the countryside depopulated and forests left unmanaged, wolves had the space to thrive. In response, the Irish Wolfhound became a key tool in keeping the wolf population under control. There is clear evidence for this in government records. As early as the 1650s, the English authorities in Ireland were issuing orders banning the export of Irish wolfhounds so that they could be kept in the country to deal with the wolf problem. Specific bounties were put on wolves' heads, and it was accepted that the most effective way to hunt them was with these giant hounds. But as the decades went on, Ireland's wolves were gradually wiped out. The last known wolf was killed in 1786 in County Carlow. Once the wolves were gone, the main job of the Irish Wolfhound disappeared. At the same time, the old Gaelic order had collapsed. The chieftains and aristocrats who had once maintained these dogs as symbols of power and protection were no longer in a position to do so. The result was a major decline in the breed. By the start of the 19th century, they were no longer commonly found in the country. That might have been the end of the Irish Wolfhound, except for one man. Captain George Augustus Graham. I told you we'd come across his name again. Graham was an English army officer and a dog breeder who became interested in Irish history and the idea of reviving the old hound. He realised that while a few dogs remained that were said to be Irish Wolfhounds, they weren't consistent in appearance and had likely been crossbred over the years. So he set about trying to rebuild the breed from what remained. Between the 1860s and 1880s, Graham used a small number of supposed Irish Wolfhounds and crossed them with breeds like the Scottish Deerhound, the Great Dane, and possibly the Tibetan Mastiff and Birdseye. His goal wasn't just to produce a large dog. It was to recreate the size, appearance, and temperament described in early writings. By the 1870s, his efforts had produced a consistent, recognisable type, a tall, strong, wiry-coated dog with a calm temperament. It was eventually recognised by the Kennel Club and began to appear at dog shows and public events. Graham also wrote extensively about the breed's history, helping to establish a public identity for it that connected back to ancient Ireland. This period in the late 19th century was also a time when Irish nationalism was growing. The cultural revival movements of the time were focused on recovering language, music and folklore, and also symbols. The Irish Wolfhound began to appear in this context as a national emblem. The nationalist newspaper, United Ireland, used an image of the hound alongside the harp and a round tower. Sculptors, painters and illustrators used the dog to represent Irish strength and dignity. You'll also see the Irish Wolfhound used in more official settings. The Irish Army uses a wolfhound as its official mascot, and you'll find statues of the breed in various places, including outside the GPO in Dublin. On stamps, in stained glass windows, and on military imagery, the dog is used as a symbol of pride, loyalty, and continuity. But beyond all the symbolism, the Irish Wolfhound is still a real dog, with real needs, challenges, and strengths. Physically, it is one of the largest dog breeds in the world, standing between 32 and 34 inches, which is in around the metre mark, at the shoulder, and some can weigh more than 140 pounds, which is about 64 kilograms. They're not bulky in the same way as, let's say, a Mastiff, but they are tall and athletic. Temperamentally, Irish Wolfhounds are surprisingly gentle. They're known for being calm, even with children, and not particularly aggressive. Despite their size, they don't tend to bark much or act territorially. They aren't natural guard dogs, but they can be protective if needed. Their downside is that they don't live very long. The average lifespan is around 6 to 8 years, with some possibly reaching 9 or 10, but that's very rare. Because of their size, they're prone to health issues like heart disease, bone cancer and bloat. They also need space and a certain level of commitment. Still, for those with the right setup and mindset, owning an Irish Wolfhound can be incredibly a rewarding experience. People who live with them often describe them as gentle, loyal and quietly affectionate. They don't demand constant attention, but they do want to be near people. They don't suit everyone, but for people who value calm, steady companionship and have the space and time to care for a large animal properly, they're an excellent breed to consider. It's also worth saying that getting involved with the breed doesn't necessarily mean owning one. Many people develop an interest in the breed by attending shows, talking with breeders, or just reading about their history. There are breed societies, heritage events, and educational talks that focus on the Irish Wolfhound as part of the Irish culture. Even learning about how the breed was recovered in the 19th century gives you a sense of the effort involved and the value placed on keeping that history alive. So, if you're interested in Irish history, especially from a heritage or conservation point of view, the Irish Wolfhound is well worth looking into. It's one of the few examples where an animal played such a sustained role in the national story, not just symbolically, but in real practical terms. From Roman letters and Gaelic legends to modern parades and family homes, the Irish Wolfhound has been present in every stage of our history. And that's something to take seriously. In a time when many native breeds, as you will already have known from previous episodes in my series, are either being lost or diluted, the Irish Wolfhound is still with us, thanks to generations of people who saw its value and kept it going. If this sparks your curiosity, don't let it stop there. Learn about the breed, visit a Kennel Club event, speak to someone who raised them, or even just take the time to understand what it takes to care for one. Because the more people who stay engaged with the history of the Irish Wolfhound, and the more people who understand its role in our past and present, the better chance it has of staying part of our future.